listening to the Intrepid Radio program with Scotty Roberts. Intelligent Talk.
Well, happy Friday evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to my show, the Intrepid Radio program right here on the Odyssey Radio Network. That's ODYSY1.com. Come on over, see all the goodness that's Odyssey Radio, and enjoy yourselves. Right now, they're not broadcasting this show live only because, as you all know, I'm here in the Makeshift Studio down in my makeshift life in Louisiana. And so you're not going to see a lot of live broadcasts come out of here over on Odyssey. They are, however, playing all of my archives. Over 500 shows they have archived there. We've been here 2.5 months, so they've been streaming through them. But pretty soon we'll get something worked out, and we'll get live over there as well again. And, of course, you're watching here on my YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/Mr. Scotty Roberts. And welcome to the show. If you scream loud enough, my son Sam, the son of Scotty, way over there, would hear you, but maybe not. We'll see. And so welcome tonight. And how was your week? It's Friday. Does Friday mean anything to anybody anymore? Because our lives have been in such upheaval for a long time over the last year. For me, Friday's not Friday anymore. Friday is something that is the lead into Saturday, which is a busy day here, where I'm doing work down in Louisiana. Sunday's our day off. And so, and it's been raining all this week, so it's kind of hard to do some of the things we do. But yeah, it's been raining everywhere, field guy. So I want to say greetings to all of you. Hey, Steve Clark, good to see you. Field guy, great to see you again. And Ryan Gale, my old buddy from the regiment, our regimental days, good to see you, brother. And by the way, if you're new to the broadcast or you're watching and I'm not making eye contact with the camera, it's two things going on. One, the camera's usually up there and the computer screen is right behind my phone, which is what I have to broadcast from because our internet sucks here and it cuts in and out all the time. And so I keep looking up there at the camera, but the camera's down here. The other reason is I've got the chat room on the computer screen right above us over here. And as long as the internet holds, I'm able to see the...
Why don't you connect to the hotspot that you just paid for today?
Yeah, I'm connected to the hotspot. I wasn't going to go into all that, but now that Sam mentioned it, I do have my hotspot refilled, and that's why I can keep the internet connection up. But if I broadcast on that hotspot, I'll use up $75 in about 2 or 3 days. And so right now, that's it. You don't need to know all that technical crap. You know how that stuff goes. I was just thinking, too, how, just not long ago when I was a young lad in my early teens, we didn't have any of this technology at all. If you wanted to be on the radio, of course, you had to go get a radio show somewhere, become a disc jockey or a talk jock, which didn't really exist the same way they do now. That's really risen in the last 30 years. So here we are, folks. Matthew Sainsbury, good to see you. Steph, great to see you as well. Baroness January, good to see you. And Master Finn, good to see you as well. Ryan Gale says he's regimental. Now, Ryan and I are members of, I guess we're still members of, but the now defunct 42nd Royal Highlanders. And I've talked to you about that group, that historical reenacting group, living history group. Whoops, there we go. There is part of the being in the Makeshift Studio. Pardon that. Let's get readjusted there. See, nothing. I don't have equipment here. That's the problem. So the phone is leaning up against the computer. That's how we're broadcasting. So, yes, Ryan and I, we were part of the 42nd Royal Highlanders, the Highland Regiment, we called ourselves, and recreating a company of the 42nd Royal, the a company of the British Army, a Scottish. Hello, I can talk. I can articulate my thoughts. A Scottish regiment during the French and Indian War, part of the British Army. And we had a good time doing that. We were the red-coated, kilted, musket-wearing, sword-bearing, tomahawk-wearing 42nd Royal Highlanders. And so we had a good time with that. Ouch my face, says Steve Clark. So how is everybody tonight? I'm glad that you came in. Someone said this man a cup of phone. Someone send this man a cup phone. There you go. Yeah, I need something like that. I've got things that hold it. I've got my light actually back there. It's actually got here. I'm just gonna pick this up. Let's break the mystery, break the illusion. See, I'm broadcasting from my camper. There's the computer. There's the light. It's one of those little disc ring lights, you know, and it's got an arm on it that comes up, and you can clip the phone on the arm. The only problem with that is the phone's too heavy for the arm. So the arm goes like this throughout the whole show. The phone would be here and it'd be going like this. So I can't really use that. So Steve Clark says, Scotty, not last night. Uh-oh, what'd I say? I remember last night vaguely. And we shall not revisit that tonight. Although I will say it was enjoyable. After the show last night, I was pretty loopy. I was baked, and I looked back at some of the footage for about 2 minutes. I went, "Oh my God, I'm gonna have to watch that when I am not baked." Sam's over there giggling in the background, so it's his fault. I'm glad you found it hilarious, Matt. I hope that anybody that was new to the channel or returning to the channel, hoping to find something fantastically profound and stimulating and substantive, didn't come back last night to say, whoa, what happened to this show? So, hey, Corey Blake, good to see you. Let's see, Matthew says, well, I'm holding on, Scotty. My throat feels itchy due to volcanic ash in the past week. I'm glad it's starting to improve. I am too, for your sake. Down there in Bolivia, I think you said you are. So volcanic eruptions. Yeah. Steve Clark says, Scotty, you was totally bombed. Yeah, I was. I have to admit, I was not inebriated, but I was baked. And it was an interesting show last night. All I truly remember about last night is trying to maintain some modicum of articulate speech. I could not articulate a story, a phrase from one moment to the other. And I was a river full of tributaries last night. So more so than usual. So I won't capitulate to the highbrows. You can bet on that, Matt Finn. So speaking of highbrow, you know, our topic tonight was something that was going to pick up from the topic that we didn't even hit last night. But before we do that, I wanted to talk about something that might be near and dear to some of your hearts, and not everybody. I think specifically of women in this, that they might not appreciate the topic. Then again, I could be really wrong about that. And here, I've got to push one button on the phone, so cover your eyes, because I got to hit that right there. Boom. All right. So a topic that not everybody's going to appreciate, but a topic that we know exists out there. And I look fancy lately. Why, thank you, Corey Blake. I am rather fancy. Why, thank you. I used to say I'm dandy. How you doing, Scotty? I'm dandy. I'm not a dandy. I'm just dandy. So, or you can say fancy, Corey Blake. So here it is. You know, topics of sexuality, topics of masturbation, of pornography, and all of those things, those have become a lot more in recent years, much more acceptable to talk about in public, to talk about in an intellectual way, or to talk about it in a fun way, joke around about it, or whatever it might be. And I wanted to talk before we get into the big topic for tonight. And who knows, this topic may overtake us. We have no idea. But boxing the bishop, says Ryan Gale. Indeed. Who has the company prophylactic? If you remember that one, and you remember Ryan who uttered that line, that was a joke that went around. So, wow, Scotty, X-rated content, says Matthew Sainsbury. Maybe not too X-rated. We're going to talk about X-rated content. We're going to talk about porn a little bit here and how it affects relationships. Would you say off the top of your heads, folks, is porn good or bad for a loving relationship? What's your thank you, Corey Blake, for that sound effect. What's your take on it, guys? Is porn good or bad? Now, I can ask all of us, men or women, do you appreciate the opposite sex? Most of us do. I could ask, do you appreciate the opposite sex naked? You know what? Most of us would probably say, yeah, I do. Or we might say, well, you haven't seen my husband. Or vice versa. And so the reason I preface this a bit by saying this might be a topic that women find distasteful is maybe because guys like porn more than women do, it seems. Sorry about my lack of studio equipment here. See, look at that. It's just the simplest bounce in this trailer. Bump of the table. See, right there. There it goes. Hang on, folks. Let me fix this, lest we continue to have severe equipment problems here. Okay, nobody move. Nobody breathe. I think it's working. I think it's staying put. So I see a lot of messages are coming up that are hidden. This message is held for review over there in the chat room. So this topic will certainly elicit I think probably a lot of good comedy, a lot of things that we like to talk about. And hold on, that's bugging me because I got too much. I can't line this up properly. So pardon my perfectionism on this. I don't like this right here, that line right up there of the. I want that to be out of there because it's distracting. But there, we'll just kind of leave it at that. That'll work, I think. I'll just sit up taller. There you go. All right, so porn. I'm going to talk about that. Guys, we like porn. You know why? Physiologically, the way we're wired, guys are wired visually for sexuality. And now these are generalizations, by the way, but they're real, they're factual, they're truthful. What do guys like when it comes to sexuality? We're stimulated by the visual, by what we see, by the things that enter, as they say, the eye gate. Those are things that stimulate us. And that's why guys, they like boobs, they like butts, they like legs, they like belly buttons, they like all these things. Nipples, says Field Guy, thank you. And so guys are stimulated by sight. Women, however, sexually, and again, these are generalities, but this is the way we're wired. Women are stimulated by romance. Women are stimulated by, sometimes by talking, sometimes by the things that are said, the feelings that are being shared, the passions that are there. These are the things that stimulate women. And that's what makes sex good for women. What makes sex good for guys is if they can see your boobs. That's the way it tends to work. And now, of course, I am not giving way for all the different genders that say they exist out there, blah, 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 blah. That's a different conversation altogether. I'm just talking about basic sexuality. Male, female, man, woman. And these are the things that stimulate us. So who is the, let me ask you a question. Anybody can get this right on the first guess? Who watches porn more, men or women? Who do you think? Who is porn? Who is the porn industry geared toward? Who is the greatest market demographic out there for porn? Oh, Steph says women. Is that what, are you answering that with that? Is that your answer, Steph? Is that your final answer, Steph? Pardon me, I'm still making adjustments here that are really bothering me. Hang on a second, I'm going to try something here. Oh, there you go. See, I knocked it down because I'm moving things. Hold on, bear with me, guys. There we go. All right, I think that's working. There, that's a little better. We'll just do it that way. So, who does porn cater to? Matthew says, I think men, but it seems everyone these days. Corey Blake says, hopefully they make a movie about it, about porn. Very curious about the massage parlor massacre. Oh, no, I don't know anything about that one. You're speaking of something, 1834 men, says Field Guy. 18 to 34-year-old men. That's it. Exactly. And let me just ask, women, how many guys have you seen in social media, Facebook, wherever, and you see their profile pictures? And no offense to you, Steve, because you're always shirtless, but they're shirtless. It's like they're showing off their, hey, look, I'm over here, and I just might be naked. Because there are women out there that want me. And so I'm going to show you my fleshy chest. I'm going to rip open the zipper. I'm going to show you, and I'm going to flex my muscles, whatever it might be. And you know why we do that? Why guys do that? Because they are drawn visually to sexuality. And so a man who does that is usually somebody, Steve, I'm not talking to you. I'm making a little bit of a joke out of it. Every time we talk to Steve, he's sitting in his living room having a cigarette or something and shirtless. So drinking beer. That's okay. That's not what I'm referring to. But guys that are out there and they're putting their, damn it, I'm having more problems with this tonight. What is with that? So I can't get the thing to aim high enough without knocking it down. There you go. So Iowa X, good to see you. He says the Germans make the best porn that caters to men and to women. Now, I didn't see the whole thing because it passed off of my my screen there. Oh, women of good taste. There you go. So this is what I'm asking you guys. And you can be open. You can talk about it here if you want to. I will tell you something. I'm okay with porn as a thing. Am I okay with the industry? Am I okay with, maybe some people would say it's exploitation? I have found that most of the porn stars that I've ever heard interviewed out there would say that they did it because they enjoyed it. Are there people that enjoy sexuality enough that they would partake in the porn industry? That's like asking, are there people who enjoy sexuality enough that they would do things within relationships that other people wouldn't do? Group sexes or partner sharing or things like that. There's all those kinds of things out there because you can't really gauge somebody's sexuality on old standards anymore, especially in current society. So is porn a bad thing? I'm going to ask you that question. Porn, Ryan Gale brings up a great point in his question. Isn't porn really just prostitution? It's sex for money. And then I would take that one step further and ask, why have we illegalized prostitution? If somebody wants to sell their body for money, for sexual acts, so yeah, I'll do a sexual act for you. You got the dough? Yeah, let's go. I got bills to pay. And I understand that the laws are generally made because of the worst common denominator. The lowest common denominator that abuses something is usually the cause of making a law against or prohibitions against something. Field Guy said Louisiana wants to make prostitution legal. Now, how do you guys feel about that? Iowa says porn is brutal exploitation of tricks by greedy hoes. There you go. I don't think there's an E on the end of the hose there. You've just made it a farming implement, Iowa X. So just being a grammar Nazi. Steve Clark said, I remember porn popped up on primetime cartoon on Saturday morning while stationed at Minot AFB in North Dakota, Air Force Base. So what do you guys think? Should porn be there? Should prostitution be legalized? What if you got some poor sap, and again, focused on the guys? Generally, it's not that there aren't male prostitutes and that women don't use male prostitutes, but I got to ask the question. Like porn, who is the greatest user, the end user of prostitution? It's guys, it's men. Now, there are, of course, you can get into all the addictions that take place. You can talk about a porn addiction and how it would affect a marriage. And we're going to hit on that in a couple of points here. And, you know, I'm finding that this topic may go longer than the topic that I announced. So we may not have to save that for next week. It's Friday night. Let's talk about porn. Let's focus on this sexual stuff, sexuality. They say that porn can foster rape, that porn can, when I was in the church, it entered, you're looking at someone else's woman or wife, or you were lusting, and it became a sin because of that. Well, you know what? It doesn't take much for a guy to lust. I can watch a woman walk by fully clothed and go, whoa, is that lust or is that appreciation? There's a fine line there, folks. Now, I don't want to give the impression that I'm a free-for-all on this stuff and that, oh, Scotty likes porn. He's okay with porn. You know, I actually had an old friend of mine that he got his wife into porn. He built a website, and he was using her for porn to educate, he said. I think it was just to show off the fact that his wife was gorgeous. But he had approached at least 10, 11, 12 years ago, Rainey and me, and he said, would Rainey be all right with doing some porn, coming down here and doing porn? And I said, you would have to ask Rainey about that. Not that I didn't have my take on it, but I've never wanted to be the guy that says to my wife, you are under my thumb, you will do what I say. My predilections on things, my attitudes on things should govern yours. No, but in relationships, they should be, in a relationship, the way you feel about things like this should be in league with each other. And so I told him at the time, well, that's up to Rainey. And so he talked to her while we were sitting there on the computer. And she said, well, she said, how much does it pay? I was kind of like, what? And you know, that's always a factor. How much does it pay? What are you going to pay me to do a porn movie with you and your wife or whoever? And he said, well, a couple $1,000s. And she said, you add a couple of more zeros on that, and you might get me interested. And she looked at me afterwards, and she said, I said, would you really do that? And she said, not really, as a going concern. She said, but she's comfortable with her body. She's comfortable with her sexuality. She said, you know what? For the right price, you could convince me. And so I'm not letting anything out of the bag about Rainey there. We're all kind of that way to a certain extent. Curiosity killed the pussycat. We need to teach these women the proper value of being a woman and what they're here for. Some women want to be objectified. It's thrilling. This is what Corey Blake said. Is it objectification? You know, there was a point in my life where I said, definitely, I'd love to be objectified by women. Use me all you want. You know, there were those days. And so now here's why I'm bringing this up, because I've got a couple of things here that I want to talk about. And I've got some articles over here if you know how I do things here. There's a couple of thoughts. Can pornography actually, see the camper shakes? Sam gets up and walks across the room and the camera falls over. So sorry guys. It's just because everything's shaky around here. The whole camper, by the way, is shaky. It's not stable around here. Was strong wind. You know why tornadoes and hurricanes rip apart trailers so much? I don't know why exactly, other than they're very lightweight. Sam can get up and use the bathroom in the middle of the night, and it wakes me up because the whole camper shakes. And I'm sure the same thing happens for him. So, again, pardon the technical difficulties that we have to deal with. It just seems more tonight. Something's a little off in the way I'm set up here tonight physically. So, wobbly camera, wobbly trailer. So, yeah, they're flying garbage cans. Ain't that the truth, field guy? Let's just pretend we didn't see that, girls. Just remember back page. I don't know if I remember back page. So, yeah, you Corey brings up a point. You can convince anybody of the right thing for the right price. Incentives, yeah. It's the age-old questions, Rainey and I, we joke around about that stuff. Just banter. It's like, how much money would you take to have sex with somebody else? She asked me. And I said, well, depends. The amount is relative. It depends on visually, visual. It depends on how she looks. It depends on how we have those conversations, and it always comes down to me saying, but I wouldn't do that. You know why? I don't want to hurt you. That's why we love vampires, said Tara Rex. There you go, Tara. You're going to have to expound on that a bit. I may have to have you on the show to talk about that. And by the way, if anybody wants to be on the show and join in, pardon my hand, folks, because this is the only way I can do this. If I wanted to invite you to come in, I'm going to copy this to the clipboard. And I got to have my hand up here. I'm sorry, there's no other way to do this. And I want to paste this into the chat room. I'll put this right here. Boom, and paste. Chat. There you go. You see that link I just put in there? That is a link where if you would like to come in, share your opinions about some of the things we're going to talk about, you can click that link. It will bring you into the green room, so to speak, into the side wings of the show, and have your camera ready because it's going to be video. And when I see you, I'll call you into the show. So just come on in and line up if you'd like to talk. Tara Rex says, that's why we love vampires, romance. Like the Indecent Proposal. Yes, Steph, that's what I was thinking of, that Demi Moore movie with Robert Redford. He offered to pay them $1 million if he could spend a night with his wife. And she took him up on it. And it's like, yeah, $1 million. What does the guy do? The guy sits at home wondering, they're having sex right now, aren't they? My wife is having sex. My wife has another guy with her naked having sex with her. That's what a guy would think about. So, hey, Doug Stack, good to see you. I still have friends that want to go to strip clubs, says Steve. I say, not for me. That I want to see stretch marks again. I'd get married again. You know what? Strip clubs have never really done it for me. Do you know why? A strip club, you can't touch anybody. It's not a thing. You're just watching somebody dance, maybe artfully dance, maybe sloppily dance while they're naked. And you get to look at their body parts, but that's all you get to do. And buy really expensive watered down drinks. So it's not a big thing for me. That's what you want to do. That's your gig. Go ahead. But what I want to talk about is, what does it do to us? What does it do to our relationships? And most everything I found on this topic really dwelt on the fact that it can be ruinous to relationships. It's ruinous to men. It causes men to do bad things. And all of those things, you could say just about anything. Drinking is fine until you abuse it. Is porn fine until you abuse it? Is porn itself, are you watching something that is an abuse of other people? Corey Blake says, why does swinging seem like a recipe for violence to me sometimes? I think it's because of the emotions that can get wrapped up in it. And men are supposed to be able to compartmentalize until, of course, it's their woman having sex with another guy. You imagine how there are some people that are okay with that, and they do that just fine. So I wanted to talk about how using pornography may affect relationships. There's many couples who consider or experiment watching porn. I'm not talking about engaging in group sex and pornography. I'm sorry, prostitution and things like that. But just the very issue of watching porn. There are times, and I'll be honest with you. Hey, Audrey, how you doing? Good to see you. There's delay in timing here, so you may have said that before I actually saw it. Rainey actually said to me one time, she's like, I'm really tired. Really, why don't you just go watch some porn? I go, what's porn going to do for me? That would be just me touching me, watching somebody digitally. What does that do for me? I like the touch. I like the feel of my wife. I hope I didn't let any cats out of the bag there, but yeah, I do love my wife. And I love the touch and the feel of my wife. I love the intimacy with my wife. That's a good thing. And intimacy doesn't always mean you're stupid. It could just mean you're hanging out together. You're all wrapped up together watching a movie. Something like that. I like intimacy. I like closeness. Does that mean I don't like porn? No. I like naked women. That's a thing with me. You know why? I'm a guy. I'm drawn by the visual. So prior research on the connection between pornography use, its frequency, and sexual well-being have produced a lot of mixed results over the years. Male pornography use may be linked to negative well-being, including less relationship satisfaction. And there's a lot of new research that's actually dictating that thought, is that it's negative well-being. This is why men enjoy it. Not having sex enough, quote unquote, in their relationships, or feeling dissatisfied in their relationships. It may not even be that they don't have that there's a loving problem there. It could be that there is an intimacy problem there. And so they're finding this in studies. For women with high levels of anxious attachment, more pornography use might be associated with lower relationship satisfaction. That's something they found out. Sexually explicit material is really often a societal point of contention. And you can find literature discussing the value of pornography for individuals or couples, used cathartically or to promote sexual discussion within marriage, or hey, look at how they did that. We should try that. Okay, let's get a step stool out and get up on top of the fridge. Let's try that thing. Or it prompts sexual discussion within a marriage. And but many people really believe that there's a downside to explicit imagery like pornography, not to mention furthering the exploitation of some of the men and women who are recruited to make it. And within committed couples, research indicates the explicit warning labels on adult material should include a relational health warning label as well, like a pack of cigarettes. This could be bad for your health. Mike Yehudi, good to see you, Yehudi. And by the way, for those of you joining the chat tonight and joining the broadcast, I don't always hit the topics that I promote, the titles of the show. We may end up, this is something that came up after I put up the promotion for tonight's show, and I thought about this porn stuff, and I thought, maybe I'll talk about this. And it was because an article came across my bow, and I was reading it. And I thought, maybe I should just open up with this and then get to the main topic, which I do many times. But you know the way it is around here, we don't always get to the main topic. So if we don't, we'll move that out to next week. But pornography may be hazardous to relationship health. Now, there's a maybe in there because it's not necessarily something that is agreed on, even in psychological circles. And I'm trying to look at your all of your comments as we're doing this because I think it could be very interesting. And I've got a guest in here. Who's in here? Who are my guests? Oh, I got 3 guests lined up. I got Fieldway. I got Milky Way. I can't see the full name. Is that Scott? And I got Doug Stack. I'm going to call in Milky Way. Let's get you into the show, huh? How about that? There we go.
Well, howdy.
All right. I've got you.
This
well,
thing
howdy. How you doing?
There you go. I think the camera's picking up the other one. I had problems with the other night, but it's all working good. Either way. Yeah.
All right. Fantastic.
That's that virtual screen thing, you know? You got to...
Yeah, you know, it's blotting out part of your face. I'm not even making out your face.
Yeah,
and it's only this big anyway on my phone.
Yeah, I don't know what it is.
While we're talking, you let me put on my headset because I don't want to get feedback into the phone.
Absolutely.
Because, as you know, it's the Makeshift Studio here.
Yeah.
So let me get this plugged in ahead of time, but I wasn't sure. And I almost knocked the thing over again. There you go. Okay,
yeah,
there we are.
There we go. I'm trying to get my face looking good. Doggone it, I should have. I don't know. There we go. It kind of works, and then it doesn't. That's that virtual background, and I couldn't figure out how to shut it off.
You know, there is a button for that. Depends on what program you're in.
Yeah,
and, where you can turn that off completely.
It works real good on Zoom, but on StreamYard, it doesn't seem to work so good on my computer.
Right,
I don't know why that is. But
wow,
hey,
look at this.
You'll just have to deal with it until I can get the lighting straight. So that's what it is.
That's like right now. You know, with the Makeshift Studio here, lights, cameras, soundboards, microphones. I don't even have a microphone here other than what's built in. So I feel your pain.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. So
what are your thoughts on all of this? Where's your head going?
Know, this came up actually. Now I'm not a porn guy. Look at that. That's kind of cool. Anyway, I am not a porn guy. I'm a floating head guy, but not a porn guy. Never really been, but I know several people, and you know that throughout my years of I'm older. I've had experiences that it's not just guys. There's girls out there too that have porn addictions. I remember the one gal telling me, "Hey, let's watch some porn and then go do it." And I'm like, "What?"
Okay, you're a guy, so you're like, "Okay."
Yeah, it was like, yeah, okay, let's try that, but it didn't quite work so well. I was, it wasn't my thing.
I'll let out another little secret about Rainey. I've told people the story of when I went to her house and her friend was there, and she had a little thing called Margarita Mondays in the summer. Yeah. And it would start at like noon. Everybody come over to her house. And I went over, it was just her and her girlfriend, and that's where I got that massage the first time. And I wasn't even dating her at the time. But part of Margarita Monday was margaritas and watching porn with a bunch of people. Broad daylight, the windows open or the air conditioning on, depending on the weather, and watching porn. Many times it was things like midget porn. Rainey, that particular day, she had midget porn on. And we were all kind of laughing at midget porn and talking about what's hot and what's not. And so there you go. Yeah.
But I know it can ruin relationships. I have a friend. I ain't mentioning names or anything. It's anybody knows. But anyway, he's had a lot of problems with his relationship because his wife feels, I believe she's jealous that he looks at porn.
Oh,
I mean, he, even sharing pictures like on Facebook or, whatever those things are, or sending, I'm sure you've got them. Oh, look at the dancing naked girls.
Right.
You're a guy, you know what I'm talking about. And you see, or memes, there's a lot of memes with girls and their boobs pop out or something on that order. And she gets terribly jealous. She's like, oh, you want that girl, not me.
Let me say something to Matt over in the chat room. Matt, it wasn't like watching porn with a group. It wasn't like we were all sitting and contemplating. Oh, look at, oh, porn. Let's all be quiet and watch this as we drink our margaritas. Now, there was all kinds of laughing and talking going on, and there's midget porn playing. Yeah. So it wasn't quite like let's get a group together and watch Lord of the Rings. So.
Absolutely. So that's the thing is what you're looking at in a picture. Say you had a pinup poster of a naked, you go in a guy's garage, it's his man cave. And you go in there and he's got the girl with the big boobs and
the calendars.
That couldn't cover anything, but or maybe there's nothing covering. And how do you look at that and say, that's ruining our relationship?
Yeah.
But then do you tell your wife, hey, you take a picture of you and I'll put it up in the garage? Would it be the same? Would she do it?
See, I would put up naked pictures of my wife everywhere. I got no problem with that. I'd put them up in my garage. I've got a great photo of my wife that I took about when we were dating. And by the way, she hasn't changed much. This is about 15 years ago. She's wearing my British red coat and a pair of very skimpy panties, and that's all. And the red coat's open, and she's stretching up, and she's smiling, and the British flag is behind her. And it was a great photo. I'd blow that up into life size and put it in my studio or hang it in my garage or my man cave. The problem is, the only problem you'd have with that, if you invite any other guys over into your man cave, they'd be like, that's rainy. And it's like, yeah, that's my wife. There's part of it for a guy. You look at that and you go, I'm very proud of it. Maybe somebody's patting myself on the back. Look at the schlump like me that got an awesome woman like her. And look, I wish I could show you. And but you don't. And I'm rather proud of the way my wife looks. She'll be 41 this month, and she still looks like she's 27. So that works for me, and it's pretty cool because I'm aging rapidly. But so I know what you're talking about. The man cave, and I've seen it. I walked into lots of people's garages or the shop of the guy, and you see that and you go, and I look askance because it's like, I didn't think your wife would allow something like that. You'd have that. How can you have that up there? You guys are like upstanding people. Why do you have a picture of Angelina Jolie from 1998 in a bikini hanging on your wall? Yep. And so anyway.
Yes.
So I get your point.
Yes. So kudos to you that you got a wife. And see, you just hit on something that I want to point out. And this is the way I always felt. If you want to do porn, do it with your wife, your girlfriend, whoever you're with, because that's when it counts. Yeah. I mean, I would love to have my girlfriend with the picture, and then I would be proud of that too. But I wouldn't want to show it to other people either.
Well, that's the thing. Like, that's the thing. I'll do a true confession here. There have been times in our marriage where we're going at it, humping and bumping and greasing up the old flack suit, as they say. And I'll look up at my wife and I'll go, where's my camera? And she's like, she doesn't care, but it's kind of like, don't take time to do that right now. Just concentrate on where we're at. And but she doesn't have much problem with it. But, she wouldn't want me publishing that abroad either.
Oh, yeah.
And I've joked with her and I've said, you could put up your own website and probably make a ton of money and I could retire. And that's joking. I wouldn't want my wife to subject herself to that. And so, the big question is, can pornography, it really started with pornography. Can that be hazardous to relationships? Yeah, it can be. What's your thought on that, on it being hazardous? Is that something, what do you think it is about porn that could be hazardous to good relationships?
I think it creates jealousy. At least that's what I've seen from my point of view, from what I've seen these two people go through. He thinks it's normal you know, and like having the picture up in the garage, and she's jealous that he's looking at other women. And I'm thinking,
Right.
it's a flat piece of. So somebody has an issue there. Now, who would you say has the issue?
I would say that well, that's a tough one, because the first thing I would say is, well, somebody's got a security issue.
Yeah.
But then again, can we as men introduce things into our relationships that create the insecurity? How would I feel? I try to flip that around. And I say, how would I feel if my wife had, you know, my wife is big time into Dwayne Johnson, The Rock. And she goes, he's my freebie, you know. I'm like, okay. I said, you know, next time The Rock comes knocking at the door and wants to have sex with you, I'll go for a drive. And there's your freebie. But if she hung a picture of him up, I wouldn't care. If she had her girl cave, no entendre there. If she had her girl cave and she hung a picture of Dwayne The Rock up there, I wouldn't have any problem with it. Now, if she hung a picture of a guy that's flexing his muscles and he's almost naked or is naked or whatever, and hung that on the wall in her studio, and it was like the guy down the street, I might have a problem with that. That might create a little insecurity in me. And my wife loves to tease me and loves to tweak my insecurities. I don't have a lot of them, but they're buried. They're there. They're under the surface. I can let them go every now and then.
I got with that thought though, is with your insecurities and stuff. How's the fact that, well, if put it to you this way, if you had naked pictures of women in your man cave, and she had almost naked pictures of men in her women cave, and when you guys got together, it made better sex. Would that be okay with you?
Yeah. You know, sometimes even conversations about those things are stimulants to intimacy, stimulants to sexual activity. I think only the prude out there would have big problems with a couple having their intimate conversations and having fun with it and whatever, and that it brews up, you know, unless you're, you know, very Catholic or something and you're not supposed to have sex for fun. It's only for procreation. There was something else I was going to bring up about something that Rainey had said. We have all kinds of conversations about this. When you know somebody, and I got to tell you something, I love my wife immensely. There's probably not a person in the world that could come anywhere close to the status of love, affection, admiration I have for my wife. I would not want to imagine my life without her. Now, being a guy, can that be a motivation for a guy to say, I don't want to screw this up in any way. If I screw that up, I got problems. Now that's a slightly different topic, but with my wife, there's nothing I ever want to do that would make her feel inferior, that would make her feel insecure. I used to travel an awful lot on the paranormal circuit. And, you know, 10 years ago when I was with the Ghost Hunters, the magazine, and I'd travel a lot. I was gone 2 weekends a month, 2 4-weekend weekends a month. And she'd see pictures coming back that are being posted on Facebook or social media of the hangouts. And I might be standing there with Amy Bruni or another woman, and standing there and we're drinking beer and we're smiling at the camera, heads together. And that would pique my wife's insecurity. Why? She was at home while I was off working, but I was having fun too. And so those are the things that I tried to avoid doing. A lot of that made her feel insecure once I learned that. So when it comes to porn, if my wife was insecure about porn, I would never look at it, or I'd hide it better. No, but she's the one who says to me sometimes, just go look at porn or something, you know?
Yeah.
And and all that entails, we all know what that's all about.
Yeah.
It's become healthier to talk about it these days. So.
Yes, and it is. It's very healthy. And I think you got the right idea with all that. It's very good. And you got to be open and honest with your partner.
Yes, you do.
You know,
and that's really the cornerstone. Well, I'm going to jump back into this a little bit. Thanks thanks for calling in. I really appreciate it. It's good to see you.
Yeah, nice seeing you. I'll be listening.
Fantastic, right, brother. I'll talk to you later.
Later.
Let's see if I can get you out of here. No, I can't. Let's see. Hang on a second. Somebody, the danger. Oh, he's already gone. Okay. The danger of being on the phone is that I also have people trying to call me right now that forget I'm on the radio every night at this time of night. So, anyway, we got just an amazing downpour. I don't know if you can hear that. We had thunderstorms the last few days. It's just pounding the camper right now. So anyway, so on this topic, when we go back into the topic here, I got to watch this because there might be a little leak that's coming into the trailer. When we're talking about pornography being hazardous to relationship health, there was somebody named Beta Botte, and in 2021, and they explored associations between pornography use, motivations, and the intimate well-being of couples. And they note that prior research studying the association between pornography use and its frequency and the sexual well-being has yielded, would you think, good or positive or negative results? It's yielded very vastly mixed results. And their cross-sectional dyadic study generated a myriad of observations. And some are particularly relevant to pornography use and relational well-being. They noted that men turned to pornography in an attempt to reduce negative emotions and stress, resulting in improved moods that came with lower levels of sexual arousal, leading to less partnered sexual activities and lower sexual well-being. So men would turn to relieve stress. And yet the end result was that the moods came with lower levels of sexual arousal, led to less partnered sexual activity, and lower sexual well-being. And Botte and all, they all noted that using pornography for emotional avoidance was associated with higher levels of hypersexuality and problematic use of pornography, and both of which are really linked with lower sexual well-being. And they conclude that turning to pornography, I was going to say tuning in to pornography, turning to pornography to reduce stress and negative emotions may reveal some really deeply underlying problematic use that can reduce men's sexual well-being. So the guys that turn to porn to reduce their stress and their negative emotions are really guys that might have a much more deep-seated problem. Brian Willoughby and Nathan Leonhardt, they examined a similar issue in a piece that they wrote that was entitled Behind Closed Doors, Individual and Joint Pornography Use Among Romantic Couples. That came out last year. And they studied a variety of actor and partner associations relative to pornography use in 240 committed heterosexual couples from the United States. And although the results linked female and couple pornography use with sexual desire and satisfaction respectively, such use wasn't linked with other indicators of well-being. Male pornography use was linked with a variety of negative well-being indicators, including less female sexual desire, lower male positive communication, and less relationship satisfaction. So these are some of the downsides of porn. This is what it does. And mostly it's geared at the male. And acceptance and anxious attachment. There's a difference between those things. Acceptance and anxious attachment. Megan Moss in 2018 studied the use of pornography within heterosexual couples as linked with acceptance and anxious attachment. They began by noting that most research exploring pornography use within committed relationships has found such use to result in negative outcomes. This would be like if you went to an extreme example in another case, the couples that would say to each other, we should do a three-way because it might spice up our relationship. In many cases, the studies have found that those types of relationships end relationships, not because they run off with the other person, but just because it lowers the intimacy level. There's that acceptance and anxious attachment. In the study, they know that the variability in such use with couples merits a lot closer examination because everybody's different. Everybody does things different. Corey Blake says, I don't know about you, but I can literally go like a week without thinking about sex. Corey, I can go a week, 10 minutes without thinking about sex. I'm a sexual person. I'm driven. My mind is driven by that. Now, let me, somebody's going to grab that sound clip and go, oh, no. What I mean by that, no, Doug, I'm not doing that tonight. Doug said for the second hour, he said, take a hit. No, I'm not going to do that tonight. That was last night. I lost my train of thought with that now. Talking about, when I say I think about sex a lot, that's from the very minor to the big, you know. That can be, because of the visual, that can be you see somebody, a woman who looks sexy or looks good even, pretty, and that makes your mind go, it piques your sexual things, jujus. And so I have that going for me. I'll probably always have that. I don't know. Maybe there will be a day when I don't have that anymore. I kind of like the fact that I have that. I think I'm a normal red-blooded American male. I am attracted to women. I like women. I like the way they look. I like sex with women. Now, that sounds strange because I only have sex with my wife. But I have to put that caveat in. So, however, I desire my wife. I look at her and I'm like, wow, get in this bed, you know? And so that's there. And you'd have to ask Rainey how her drive is, and how that. But she's a woman, so she's going to be different. Leslie says, I would think a certain amount of jealousy could have something to do with that. Yeah, exactly. And Corey says, yes, Leslie, jealousy and misunderstanding, confusion from the rivalry, competition of a guy and his girlfriend or an outsider stepping in. Now, you're talking about actual sexual activity, or you're talking about porn. Because should a woman feel unappreciated? Is that a word? Should it peak? Does it peak for you if you're a woman? Does it peak insecurity if you know that your husband enjoyed watching porn? Now, when I'm talking about enjoying watching porn, when I said I've watched porn, it's not like, that's not my pastime. I'm going to tell you that. But my wife has said, hey, if you need to watch porn, go watch porn. I don't care. Sometimes she's like, will you please go watch porn? So, and I'll go do other things. So, especially, even when it's accepted like that, if my wife said, hey, just not in the mood, go watch some porn, I probably won't do it. You know why? Oops, I got water dripping in on my computer. We do have a leak in this fixed camper that was being fixed while I was gone. So I just had a big drop, came right down on top of the mouse pad. There you go. So that could be problematic. So yeah, I go do other things. I don't look at the porn. It's like half of it would be sitting there going, my wife knows I'm in here looking at porn. I don't think I'll do it. So, and you don't want any kids walking. What are you watching, Dad? Is that you and Mommy? No, that's not me and Mommy. Go away. So, okay, moving on. Making some light here. There's less relationship satisfaction that goes on. And women who experience that high level of anxious attachment, more pornography use results in a lower amount of relationship satisfaction. They experience less satisfaction themselves. They found the opposite for anxiously attached men. And with the degree of pornography acceptance, they found that men who are more accepting reported greater relationship satisfaction. And those who are less accepting reported less relationship satisfaction. And so there's a very practical problem here that's relational health and satisfaction require considering the views and values of both partners. So a guy that says, oh, yeah, I watch porn. Has he considered how it makes his wife feel? And vice versa. Yeah, I should put an umbrella over the computer, except I don't have one here. I have to work something out. It's not dripped since that one drop. So hopefully we won't get any more of that. It's just, boy. So there is this acceptability and desirability of watching pornography is an issue that's consistently yielding different points of view between men and women, a critical divide that can destroy relationships. So how do you build a healthy relationship? A large number of married couples don't watch pornography, either alone or together. They choose instead to enjoy a healthy relationship built on love and passion for each other, respect, mutual desire for each other. And so for partners who use pornography, either out of compulsion or curiosity, consider that many couples who've experimented with explicit materials like this in their marriages or their relationships report that they're much happier and their relationship is much healthier without it. And they choose, I'm sorry, there was many couples who've experimented, say that they're much happier without it. And they choose instead to focus on a bright future together rather than focusing on these kinds of things. And that raises a question, which is something I wanted to ask them. How on earth can porn be good for your relationship? There, I had another drop right in the same spot. Okay. Sorry, folks. There's a drip that's gathering up there, and I have no way to. I'm going to move this whole thing this way. All right. Hopefully that will not drip on the computer again. All right. There we go. Okay. And I got to adjust some things here. So sorry about that. And I'm sorry if you guys have had comments in the chat room. I've really been focusing on getting through this material a bit, and it's already after 10 o'clock. And I got a whole nother section of this I haven't even hit yet. So it's Friday night. Anybody got anything else to do? You okay if I dig in just a little bit more for a little bit of time? I don't want to just lose the audience and be done. I may have lost audience already. There are things you can talk about that some people are like, I don't like this talk. I'm going to go somewhere else. Corey Blake says, I know the men's rights movement has a vendetta against the porn phenomenon for quite some time. We're chilling, said Doug. That's good. Keep going, bruh, says Ryan Gale. Okay, let's dig into this just a little bit more. For a little bit more time. I'm going to back this off a little bit here. There we go. Oh, I hit something. What did I hit? Did I lose something here? I did something. It brought up my history. I don't know what I did. There we go. Okay. Working through the bugs. So it can porn be good for a relationship with the right attitude? Some say it can definitely be a good thing. At its simplest levels, porn depicts other people engaging in varying types of sexual activity. I mean, in its simplest levels. I've seen some pretty base stuff out there. I think one of the things my wife mentioned, I've seen this stuff too. When they did their Margarita Mondays, they do midget porn. Sometimes they would do bestiality porn. Sometimes things get a little bit, I think, out of hand. But let's talk about normal porn, if you will. It's basically you're watching other people have sex. And oddly, it's been found that it can be arousing. And its primary purpose is just that, to sexually arouse the viewer. Now, is that the purpose of porn, do you think? Do you think porn makers, producers, that they're out there going, I want to make a film that sexually arouses men? No, are they saying, I need to make something where men can feel that they can satisfy themselves to something visual? I think there's a difference there. But porn is basically to arouse the viewer. And it would seem to be a simple solution for partners who want to increase or heighten sexual arousal in their relationship to incorporate porn into their sexual lives. And that works as well for some of the time. But it's some of the time. There's the key phrase. Corey says, I actually do think that investigating the porn industry would be a great way to investigate sexism and unfair treatment of men in particular, but for certain women as well, to slow exploitation. So, Steph is here. Hey, Steph. So, Morgan, all I was seeing was men's comments. I was beginning to feel like the only lady in the room. Thank goodness you're here. Hey, Morgan Snow, by the way. Good to see you. I missed what you may have said, but that's only because I'm involved in doing all the stuff here, all the technical junk, and just doing what he's doing. And so, research shows that your attitudes about porn can make a difference, as you might expect. For men who were more accepting of pornography, higher levels of porn were used and were associated with greater relationship satisfaction. Well, I watch porn all the time, and I'm very accepting of it, and it's really helped my relationship. This association wasn't found for women who are more accepting of porn. One, for both men and women who were less accepting of porn, higher use of porn was linked to lower relationship satisfaction. Now, I can tell you this. Not the only thing I learned from porn, and the only reason I liked porn when I was younger, I learned lots of cool positions that I didn't know. It's like, ooh, honey, we got to try that. Watch this. There's been times I've said to her, I said, hey, come here, look at this. See that? See what they're doing right there? She goes, what are they doing? Gross. And I said, gross? That looks like a hell of a lot of fun. Well, we'll have to try that. So, those are the things that happen there. Hold on. I'm again, pardon my hands in the camera, folks. It's so unprofessional. But I've got to change a couple of plugs around. There we go. All right. And so there was a large U.S. study of over 20,000 people that found that those who had seen porn, and not necessarily together, in the last year were 12% less likely to have a happy marriage. That's 12% less likely to be in a happy marriage. And 10% were more likely to have had an extramarital affair. That's 1 out of every 10 guys, or men or women. And to be fair, most of the past research is focused on negative outcomes of porn. And none of these tap casual relationships. It may well be that people in unhappy relationships turn to porn for needed distraction or escape. And remember, like we said earlier, sometimes men use that to alleviate the stress of something, but they find that it doesn't do that at all. It actually increases that. There is porn specifically made for couples. You're right, Ryan Gale. There's porn that's actually made by couples. We're a married couple. I had that old friend of mine who did that with his wife. But you know what? I would not want that to be something like it did for him. That still follows him to this day, almost 15 years later, because he is known as somebody who did that with his wife. And, oh, he's the porn guy, right? But he had done so many other things. I had a good friend of mine who was a businessman, a very well-known person, and in our circles. And he said to me once several years ago, he says, "Hey, I got this opportunity to invest in this strip club over across the river from Stillwater." Those of you who live in the Minneapolis area, Ryan, you might remember maybe you don't know this at all. When the Stillwater Bridge was open, used to be open, you could drive right across the river into Wisconsin, go up to the top of the hill. There are a couple of big strip places out in the rural countryside of Wisconsin. You know, it wasn't in some seedy place of town, but that was up there. But he had the opportunity to buy one of these places. He said, "What would you think of that?" And I said, "My opinion?" I said, "You will wear that albatross around your neck for the rest of your life. Maybe it'd be highly successful to make you a lot of money." I said, "But the flip side of that, the albatross side of that, is that you're going to have hung around your neck that you are a purveyor of sex, the sex industry, even though it's just supposed to be naked dancing. But that's what it would become." And he never did do that, I think, unless he became a silent partner in something. As I said, I don't think you want to hang that around your neck. You don't want people to know that about you. You have other businesses. You want to attract people to what you do. You want to be an upstanding man in your community. You start doing that, you will be labeled the rest of your life. It may be be that people in unhappy relationships turn to porn for that needed distraction and escape. And we used to think that almost all men who use porn, that all men use porn, at least occasionally. Remember, I said not watch or view, use porn. It's a catalyst. But that women only use porn as in a sexual context with a partner. And we were right about men. But now we know that up to a third of women report using pornography regularly. That's, in other words, like weekly, that they report this. And porn sites are among the top 50 most visited sites worldwide. 90% of adults have viewed porn at least once. But the porn industry needs to catch up, as analysis of its content shows that popular porn from free websites, such as places like Pornhub, there's other ones, and there's one I can't, something about thumbnails or something like that. I can't remember the name of it, but these are sites, everybody knows where Pornhub is. These are sites that show, they're designed primarily for male viewers, typically emphasizing the male orgasm and male dominance over female partners. Now, there might be women who go, "Oh, love that." There might be other women that hate that. For men and women both. And it typically emphasizes all of those things and dominance over females. And such porn might be arousing to watch, but women often understandably report lower self-esteem, worse body image, and poorer relationship quality after viewing internet porn. Most women do. And it isn't always necessarily right after they viewed it, "Oh, I feel very terrible about myself." It might be something that also takes time to manifest. So in most cases, porn use isn't problematic and likely has little or no impact on a person's life beyond arousal. However, for some people, porn use can be problematic. Can you think of what some of the problems might be of porn use? A recent U.S. state-level analysis found that more religious states revealed higher frequencies in use of search terms like sex and porn. So the Bible Belt has a whole hell of a lot more porn looking and seeking and curiosity than less religious states. And U.S. men, not women, who reported believing that porn was always morally wrong, still tended to have viewed quite a bit of it over the past year. This is when this study came out, very recently. So research has shown that the perception that one's use is problematic predicts mental health outcomes, such as depression, anxiety, regardless of the actual level of one's use of porn. And so incorporating porn viewing into a couple's sexual life can have benefits. Hey, it can be kind of fun. Hey, look at that. Let's try that. Hey, hey, she looks like you. I like that. Come here, look at this. And so it can have benefits if approached by partners with a positive attitude. The Bible doesn't say anything about porn, Ryan Gale, because porn didn't exist in those times. It does talk about lust and coveting someone else's wife or husband, and it's usually spoken to men, though. That is one thing we found. You know what was interesting, going biblical for a second? When the Apostle Paul in the New Testament was writing to men and women in marriages, he told women, he said, here's the things you need to do, here's that, and uplift your husband, stand beneath him, hold him up. For the men, there was almost a command, men, love your wives as you love your own bodies. And there was this mandate, when you break all this study down about relationships in the New Testament, it was really pushing that women didn't need to be encouraged to love their husbands. They had to be encouraged to uplift them, to hold them up, to work with them. Men had to be told to love your wives as your own bodies. That's why men compartmentalize that stuff out. Men compartmentalize out porn. Steve Clark says, I used to go to Chippendale shows while in the military just to pick up women, take them to breakfast after the show. There you go. Yeah, that's the way that works sometimes. That way we went to the gym sometimes in my younger days. Ryan Gale said there's a passage about not spilling your seed. I think that's a very misquoted, but we should do a study on that alone. Don't spill your seed on the ground. Well, you know, there's also prohibitions against women speaking in public. So, you know, you look at those things, you go, some of that was cultural crap. You know, one thing I noticed when I was in Egypt, being around the Muslim culture a lot over there in Northern Africa, was that we all know how in Muslim culture, some Muslim cultures, women can be treated. I found it very interesting that there was a man I knew, he had high authority, Egyptian government, and he dressed in blue jeans and t-shirts and stuff when we're out in the field. And he invited us all to his house for dinner. His wife and his wife's sister were there, and they were all covered in the, not just the habib, they were in the full regalia, the, why do I forget what it's called? They had on the black robes and the black headdress that covered the whole head and the black veil. So all you could see was their eyes. Because it was said that, you know, this all goes in that biblical mandate that to even look on a woman and lust after her means you've committed adultery already in your heart. So that's why they keep covered up in the burqas. That's what I'm thinking of. And yet the man was free to walk about any way he wanted to. And these same men who had their wives dressed like that, also one of them said to me, he says, Scotty, tell me, he says, why in American sex, when American men have sex, do they always keep their socks on? And he wasn't telling a joke, he was asking me. I'm like, where'd you get that? He says, well, all the movies I see. He's talking about porn. They watch porn. They were okay with porn, but not okay with their women being uncovered in public. So, let's see, moving on. There was Erica Young. You remember her? My mom had a novel by her, Fear of Flying, I think it was, something like that. And she wrote like back in the 60s or the 70s. And she said, my reaction to porno films is as follows. After the first 10 minutes, I want to go home and screw. After the first 20 minutes, I never want to screw again as long as I live. So it all depends on your take on porn. Incorporating porn viewing into a couple's sexual life can have benefits if it's approached by partners with a positive attitude, with care, to ensure that the content doesn't veer into distressing or deplorable zones for people. And if used occasionally to supplement, not substitute, real life action. So if you're using it as a substitution, rather than a supplement, you know that there are some problems with that. So they can put the shoes back on and leave without putting socks back on, said Doug Stack. Yeah, maybe there's that. Religion is inconsistent, Corey Blake. You're right. Let's see. What did I see? Morgan Snow saying, IOX, that's fighting talk. What did you say this time? Oh, women should be seen and not heard. Yeah, I don't think he really believes that. I really don't. And I don't know if you're married. I don't think your wife probably would believe that. So I don't think he's being serious. So there's porn and then there's porn. It depends on what kind of porn you're watching together, says Leslie Holker. Exactly. Now, Rainey and I don't really watch porn together. We've seen it together. There's times I go, hey, Rainey, look at this. Come here. You got to see this. We're sitting in our studio together working. And she goes, why are you watching porn? I said, oh, it just popped up on my screen. I said, but look at this, and but that's as far as it goes. It was different when she was a single woman in her 20s and was having margarita Mondays and watching midget porn. But still, my wife is no prude, but neither is my wife somebody who is libertine about sexuality. So she thinks that there are some good moments for it. My wife is probably one of the most even-keeled, even level-headed thinkers I know. And I would hail to, I wish I had her here talking about this topic with me. So, because she offers a good balance and a good thinking. And so, there you go. Anybody have any input that they want to give on this? That link is still out there if you want to come into the show. We got a little bit of, we're all out of time, but we can take as much time as we want. It's Friday night. I'm not going to be here forever tonight, but, before I started the show, I thought, I'm tired. I woke up tired this morning, but I wasn't hungover after last night. Around here, it's an adult art theater. It's basically you go in and either watch or participate. Well, that's interesting, Steph. Where? At your house? I had to say that because around here, it's an adult art theater. So, maybe there's, I know that there are theaters like that, if that's what you're referring to. Porn theaters, yeah. I remember I saw a porn movie in a theater back in I want to say it was 1982, before the first time I was married. 21 or 22 years old. And I went into a theater. And again, those of you, where's the laptop, Scotty? Says Johan Dancing Gypsy. Leslie. Oh, yeah. Thanks, Steve. You tattled on me. Oh, you missed last night's show, Leslie. But yeah, I went into a theater. They were still in the theaters. If you're from around Minneapolis, Lake Street was where I was. And I walked in there and it was like dirty, stinky. I stayed for about 10 minutes. I thought I just spent my money on this porn film and it doesn't do anything for me. What's it do? What's watching porn do for me? I'm going to watch. Oh. Mm. Oh, I like that. Oh, that's kind of weird. Ooh. Why don't you let him do that? That I should tell Rainey about. So there you go. Porn theaters are next. So I don't know. There might be some good, clean, porn theaters out there. I don't know. Haven't been in one. Yeah, stinky. They just smell like, that smell of like old bars that used to serve, that served alcohol but used to smoke in the bars. And so when you walk in, that's stale. It had that stale. That's what it reminds me of when I walked in there. And I thought, God, I hope nobody sees me buying a ticket here and walking in. So there's also the adult drive-in theaters around here too. There's no, Scotty, not in my home. I didn't think so. That was a joke. But an adult drive-in theater, what happens there? Everybody's, what are they all banging in their cars? There you go. So, Steffi, that sounds so awesome, says Corey Blake. So, yeah, Corey Blake, you're right there. I can see drive-in porn theaters being the seed ground, no pun intended, for large outdoor orgies. Yeah. So, anyway, anybody have anything they want to add to this discussion? Just pretty much, I've tapped the discussion on this. I've tapped my material that I had available, and my basic bottom line on this is that I don't have a big problem with porn, with people watching porn. I may have some problem with porn the way it's made, the industry itself. As God knows, there's times where I've been having relations with my own wife that may have made a great movie, and neither of us were feeling exploited. Maybe the making of a movie and selling tickets to it or selling it on a CD, now maybe that would be exploitation of a sort. But yeah, Leslie said, whatever floats your boat, makes life worth living, have at it. So I say too, all things are fair game, and especially within your relationship. And Johan Dancing Gypsy says, you did, Scotty. Yes, I did. Was that a question or messages held for review? I don't know why they're holding back Ryan Gale's messages. I had to release that one, Ryan. You said, what did you just say there? I hit show, and it's gone now. Oh, there it is. The ancient Greeks made porn mosaics. Yeah, they did. There was a lot of porn in Pompeii that was uncovered in the murals on the walls and mosaics in the city of Pompeii that they uncovered. And so Leslie says, Steve, he bought one today. Someone forced him off the road. Oh, totaled his truck. That's a shame on that. So don't forget to pick up the guidelines for spontaneous orgies from the HHS. Yeah, there you go, Morgan Snow. Health and Human Services. We have a brochure here that you can take on spontaneous orgies. Doug is in the StreamYards. Let's see what's going on here. Let's see, guests. I gotta hit this. You gotta pardon my hand being there. There's Doug. Let's get Doug in here. Well, let's add him to the stream. I gotta put on my headset again. How you doing, Doug?
Good. How are you?
I'm fantastic. There we go. We got us both in here now.
Got to put my.
So, what's on your mind tonight, brother?
Well, you're talking about the whole porn thing.
Yeah.
Okay. I was about 20 years old. and a buddy of mine from work. We were both managers of a gas station, and he's like, "Oh, come hang out with me and my friends tonight." I said, "Okay, no problem." Turns out it was like 10 dudes in the house, and they were watching porn. Like 10 dudes, and I was like, you know what? I gotta go. I don't want to watch porn with other dudes. That's not the point of porn.
Me either. Yeah.
But yeah. Other than that, I mean, I really haven't watched it in, I don't know, probably 10 years. I've been
Right.
married
Right.
for about 10 years, and it comes to a point where I get it live action. So
Hold on,
I really
Olive
don't
Hill.
need.
Hold on one second, Doug. I want to say hi to Olive Hill Soapery. She says,
Oh,
"Ew, no
Crystal.
way." I don't know who Olive Hill is. Are you somebody that's been in here before?
That's Crystal
Welcome
McArthur.
to the show. So,
That's Crystal
what's
McArthur.
that's who?
Crystal.
Oh,
From
that's Crystal.
yeah.
I thought I
Yeah,
recognized the picture, but it's only like an eighth of an inch tall on my screen, so I can't tell who that is. So, welcome. Good to see you, Crystal. So,
Yeah.
anyway.
Yeah, but I mean, in the last 10 years, 12 years, I really haven't had to even turn to that.
Yeah.
And I mean, do I miss it? Probably.
Probably.
But
Probably, he says.
when I was in my teens, I stole my dad's 1970s porn. So I mean,
You know what? I'm 60 years old, and I would say I'm still a fairly sexual being. I like sex. I'm 60 years old,
Oh, so
and a younger woman with, let's just be blunt, with the big boobs, or doesn't have to be big. It can just be pretty hair, pretty face, pretty body. Will turn my head. I have no problem admitting that. The one thing, it's like the old Seinfeld episode said. The half of the discussion in one of the episodes was men looking at women's boobs and getting caught doing it. And Seinfeld says, he said to George Costanza, he says, well, the thing you got to do, he says, you just get a sense and you move along. He says, you don't stare. You get a sense and you move along.
Scotty,
and that's true. And that's how I am. Leslie says, Scotty, of course you are. Hell, let's face it, Rainey's got a lot going on. Hell yeah, Leslie. Yeah.
Okay,
And,
I want to say two things. The first thing was, remember how you said that in 1982 you were
married.
in the porn? No.
Yeah, in the porn theater. Yeah.
Rainey was only like 2 years old, 3 years old.
What's that? Rainey?
I said
Rainey was like 2 years old. Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I didn't know her back then.
remember the story I told you about that movie Hall Pass?
Yes.
Where he's sitting at the coffee shop and he's going.
Yep.
My friend says, "What are you doing?" He said, "Oh, I'm taking pictures for my spank bank later."
Yeah, exactly. And porn. When we talk about porn, what kind of in say a pubescent male's life does that give the wrong image of women? I kind of like it now. No, it's of course much more serious than this. But people saying Pepe Le Pew led men to mistreat women, which I think is a bunch of bullshit. I watched porn when I had the rarest of opportunities when I was a teen. I saw more printed porn than filmed porn. Mm-hmm. But you know what? I didn't grow up abusing women. I didn't grow up being anything but polite, and because that was my character, my integrity.
It all depends, I think. It depends on what kind of porn they're watching.
Oh boy, I got to interject something here. Leslie said, in all caps. Everyone who missed last night's show needs to go back and watch it, according to Steve. I'm going to do that tomorrow. Leslie, let me just prepare you for that. If you're actually going to watch that show, be broad-minded and forgiving.
It's what is that? NC-17.
Corey Blake, what didn't we talk about last night?
Last night's show is definitely NC-17.
Yes. So, yeah, it was a show, as I said at the beginning of tonight's show, it's a show that I wouldn't promote to say, hey, if you've never seen the Intrepid Radio program, come and see this. And it was a little, only slightly embarrassing when I thought about it, because I thought, oh, there might be people who haven't been here for a while, or somebody new coming in and thinking, what is this bullshit? And so I was a little nervous about that, but I'm not taking it down. I'm leaving it up. Leslie's very broad-minded. At my age, nothing throws me. That's good. Yeah, you're like me, Leslie. Nothing throws me off at my age. So nothing shocks me. So Steph said, I asked my mom what's the big deal about porn. Went out and got 3 different porn videos and said, you decide. Oh, your mom went out and got you 3 different porn videos? Steph? No, my mom never did that for me, but of course, when I grew up, it was like, you don't talk about that stuff with your parents. Hey, mom, and it's not really sexually educational either. It's titillation is what it is. It's arousal. Yeah, it does do that. So anyway. So, yeah, your mom said you're old enough to decide. And I think that's really what it comes down to here for all of us tonight, is that if you're going to look at porn, it's up to you guys. It's up to you. It's up to you and your partner. It's up to you how you believe that you can handle porn. There's some people who can't handle alcohol, so they can't drink it. Some people who can't handle porn the right way, and so they shouldn't watch it. It's like just about, yeah, it does all depend. It's like talk.
I'm sorry. There's so many different types of porn that are out there, and it depends on what it is. Some are very degrading to women. I mean, they beat the women.
Yep.
Some are very degrading to men.
There's something that Crystal just said here that I think is a very good point. This is something I was talking about earlier, about the way men and women view sexual activity or view porn, things like that. She said, I crush on Robert Plant, but I don't really look. She said, I looked at my hubby and that's it. My eyes are only pleased by him sexually. See, now that guys can say my wife pleases me sexually, that's for my eye, but guys can go, oh, squirrel, when it comes to women and porn and things like that, because of the way we're wired. And I said, wouldn't that be a lovely, wonderful thing if people who are mated, who are together, only saw the other person as the fulfillment of everything they ever wanted in another person? And it's not that they necessarily are the fulfillment, it's that you make it become that. My wife, early on in our relationship, if you remember stories I've told before we got married, while we were dating, I pushed her away at arm's length for a long time. Some people might look at my wife and go, you are a fool. And I was. I am lucky that my wife stuck it out with me. You know what that told me? It told me my wife really loved me. My wife could have had anybody she wanted to have. My wife did not have to stick with me. I was 20 years older than she was. Of course, I was a very viral 44 when I met her. But there were so many things going for her. She didn't need me. And when I pushed her away, I'm lucky she stuck it out with me. And I'm a lucky man. When people say you're a lucky man, I say, yeah, I am. Because there's nobody in this world I would rather have than my wife. And so there it is. So Steph says, and liposuction. Yes, Doug.
It's hard to be the trophy husband, isn't it?
It's hard to be the what?
The trophy husband, isn't it?
Yeah, it's so hard being trophy husband, you know.
I
Yes,
say that all the time.
I take it a dick. There it is. It's what we do. So,
all right, Scotty, I'm going to let you go.
All right, Doug, I'm going to let you go too. All right, see you later. Thanks for calling in, brother.
Yep.
Bye.
Bye.
All right, there we go. Sorry for my hand again, folks, in the lens. Corey says, my wife, my life. You can do no wrong, guy. Hang on to that prize and treat her like the princess she is. She's the queen, by the way, Corey. She was once a princess. She's the queen. And I'll tell you, she's not always happy with me, not always satisfied with me. But I'm just lucky she hasn't kicked me to the curb. You know, I've been an idiot sometimes in our relationship. And maybe it's the older I get or the longer I am with my wife. Some people say familiarity breeds contempt. Doesn't do that for me. My wife has become somebody, I am more in love with my wife and love my wife more, those two different things, now than I ever did 15 years ago, 10 years ago, 5 years ago. Because it keeps growing. It keeps, Scotty. Said, oh, Steph, I missed what you're saying, on. I don't know what you said there. I don't know what you're referring to. I don't know what I said that made you say that. You're disagreeing with me on something or just having fun there? I don't know what happened there, but familiarity breeds ecstasy with me, says Olive Hill Soapery, Crystal. Leslie says, I used to tell my kids, nobody's perfect, and I'm going to make mistakes, and anyone who says they're perfect is a damn liar or a narcissist. And that's true. And my wife's not perfect. Who does my wife need more than me to point out her imperfections? Likewise, who do I need more than my wife to point out my imperfections? It happens. It's what we do. It's the way we interact with each other. So we're not always happy. Oh, that she isn't always happy with you. Steph, she's not always happy with me. I don't mean unhappy that we're together. I mean, I can push her buttons, but I try to not deliberately go out of my way to do that. I like to have fun with my wife. I love to joke with my wife. I love to do things with my wife. At the same time, I sometimes fear I get too sappy with my wife. Yes, but Scotty is also the greatest encouragement of Randy's positive attitude. Well, I encourage my wife, yeah. I want her to grow. I want her to be confident in her own abilities and her own skills. I don't give those things to her. I don't give her her talent and her skill. I have nothing to do with that. But you know what? I sure damn well encourage it and encourage her. I want to uplift her. And I want people to know her. Yeah, do I sometimes put pictures on my Facebook and my Instagram that are close to, the little cheesecakey? Not porn, but sure I do. I'm a big show off. This is my wife. Woo, she's hot. And I'm putting up this picture to prove it. It's like, I don't know, maybe some of you remember I put up that picture of her wearing the mask last summer, because she was in a red tank top. She's standing with her hands on her hips, turned kind of sideways to the camera, only looking at the camera with her face, and she had the Hitler required compliance too on her face mask. I go, look at this great face mask my wife put up. And of course, all the guys were making comments like, face mask? I didn't see the face mask. And so you can go look that up on my Facebook. It's around there somewhere. But, or on my Instagram. And so Leslie says, I'm 63 years old. My husband always tells me how beautiful I am. That's encouraging to me. I do for my wife too. I always tell her that. She'll walk into the room some days, and I look at her and I go, oh. She goes, what? I go, you just are amazing. You look amazing. You've struck me dumb with your radiance. I'll brush it up. Your radiance has struck me dumb. But sometimes she does that. She walks in the room, and I'm just like, oh. I said to her, I'd say things like, I'm the luckiest kid in America. But that's the way I feel about my wife. And I don't want her to ever live a day or have a day go by where she doesn't think I appreciate her and that I elevate her above anyone and everything else. She comes before my kids. I tell my kids will be doing something and they'll crowd in the bed or something, and I come to bed and I go, or they are jumping all over her, and I go, hey, I want to lay down next to mom. Oh, gross! What do you want to lay next to mom for? And we went in as a tease. And I said, because she's my wife. And she's your mom, but she's my wife. And I said, I love her. She's my wife. I said, now you can get out of my bed, kids. That's my wife. I'm going to go to bed with mom. You can go to bed in your own bed. So, yeah, I don't want to lose those feelings. I have lost it for a while because I was an idiot more early on in our relationship. I didn't know what I wanted. Early on in our relationship, we got married when I was 46 years old, almost 47. And I was still not sure I knew what commitment meant or what love meant or any of those things. And it was sincerely being married to my wife, loving my wife, living with my wife, even though sometimes she drives me nuts. Those are the things that reinforced my love and affection for my wife, my appreciation of my wife, the reasons I wanted to be with her. And that has led me to the place I am now. And I got to tell you, frankly, too, one of the big times for that was 3 years ago when I was out in Utah, first Wyoming, then Utah, doing what I'm doing now here in Louisiana. Only I was out there working with a construction company. And I was gone for 4 months, close to 5. Came home twice during that period, flew home for weekends. But I came out of that. I remember having a conversation with my wife while driving in the car once while I was out in Utah. I said, something I've come to realize is some of the things where you have felt underappreciated by me. I said, I never quite understood that until now, until being apart from you and listening to you and hearing you and all these things. And you know what, guys? There's no loss of masculinity. Who is muy macho? When you love your wife better, when you work to understand her. I'm not one of those guys who'll say, oh, yes, men, they're just so totally wrong. Women are all right. I'm not that way. But I got to understand who my wife was and why she thought certain things and things that were mysteries to me. How could you feel ever unappreciated by me? I don't understand that. And how could you feel disrespected by me? I don't know what I'm doing that makes you feel those things. And it wasn't until I started to realize it was the more subtle things that I would do. And it was by not being there. And I hate this time being away from my wife, but this also is a time that builds our appreciation of each other too. And, we're all getting older. Like I say, my wife is going to be, there's no big secret to this. No, it's going to be 41 in a couple of weeks. Wait, what day is it? It's the 16th, the 29th. Rainey turns 41. And I think, by the way, as an aside, she's a pretty damn good looking 30-year-old, 41-year-old. So, yeah, it's So there it is. I'm just ranting. That's all. Scotty is just the right way. He balanced me. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it. I try. I do. I try and I care. Do I try to get away with things sometimes? Yeah, man. But you know what? I will never want to get away with it. And they always say be careful to say never, but I don't ever want to be in a position where my wife's ashamed of me or my wife feels let down by me. Not the little things. You let me down today. You were going to do the dishes and you didn't do them. Sorry, I was watching porn. That's what I'll tell her sometimes. Oh, I was going to mow the lawn, but I was too busy watching porn. So, I got to tell you, that love for my wife, does that mean I'm not attracted to other women on a slightly different vein here? No, it doesn't mean that at all. I can be attracted to women. I'm attracted to someone. There's some women friends I have I'm incredibly attracted to. Some of them I've known since before I knew Rainey and had things worked out. I might have been with that person now. Thank God I wasn't, because I wouldn't have my wife. I wouldn't have my kids with her. Oh, God, you know what that just reminded me of? If you guys have never seen it, watch the movie Family Man with, why is his name escaping me? Oh, good grief. I can't think of his name now. And it was just on the tip of my tongue. You guys, Family Man. Actor, he was in Leaving Las Vegas. Nicolas Cage. God, how could I forget his name? You got to watch that movie if you haven't seen it. I want to talk about it now. Now that I'm telling you to watch it, I don't want to give it away. But the whole theme of the movie, he's a rich dude, rich Wall Street broker of some kind. He's given an opportunity to go back. And because his life turned up one way, and somewhere at the beginning of the movie, he gets a call from an old flame of his, an old girlfriend. And it sparks these old memories. And somebody that they left, he left her and went for this big job. And it turned into this booming career that turned him into a millionaire. And it made him think about her. And he had an experience with an angelic character in the movie, which is played by, can't think of his name. And, but he wakes up in the morning and finds out he's no longer who he is. He's the same person, but his life is different. He ended up marrying this woman instead of leaving her 10 years earlier. And it's all and he had a wife and he had kids and he had a small middle-class house in the suburbs of New York, something like the Bronx or something. I don't know where it was. It was somewhere. Might have been outside the city. And the Bronx is not a suburb. Sorry. But this whole movie is him going through, and it takes him a while to realize that his whole life has been changed here. And this angel told him that you're going to get a glimpse. I'm giving you a glimpse. And I don't want to give away the movie if you haven't seen it. It's like a reverse of It's a Wonderful Life. It's a very different kind of movie, but he does come back to his real life. And he wakes up and he's again the single man. He's not married to her. He has no kids. And he's this rich guy who finds that the most satisfying thing in his life, the happiest thing for his life would have been never turning his back on that woman 10 years earlier, how far ago it was. And she doesn't know any of this has happened to him through this whole movie. Yet this whole movie, you fall in love with these characters together. And then at night, he bumps into this, I think it was the angel again. Or somehow he knew he was going to have to go back to his previous life, his real life. The angel said, I told you, it's just a glimpse. And he's sitting up and he's watching his children sleeping and at night, and he's trying to force himself to stay awake. He thinks, if I stay awake, I won't have to go back. And of course he goes back. And this woman that he had dated, that had become his wife in this other reality. Good night, Morgan. Glad to have you here. She, at the beginning of the movie, had something of his, and that's what caused her to call him in the first place. I have something of yours that's been in a box here for 10 years. And if you'd like it, I'm leaving town, and so moving out of town, and that's why I found it. So he runs to meet her at the airport, finds out where she's flying, and he runs to the airport to see her. Now, mind you, she doesn't know he's had this experience. She hasn't seen him for 10 years or more. And she's going to get on this plane, and he's calling to her. And this movie was made back in the day. This is pre 9/11. I think this movie came out in 2000, something like that. And he's calling to her from the airport at the gate of her airplane. And she thinks he's being kind of nutty. But he calls, and I wish I could remember the lines he's saying, but she's going to get on this plane, which was the reversal. When he left her 10 years earlier, he was getting on the plane. And he calls out to her, and she's in the line, and he said, he starts bringing up the things he'd experienced in this alternate reality. And he said, we have kids. And we've named them this. And she's walking up the line, and he's kind of following through the crowd, yelling to her. And he says, we have a house here, and we have kids, and we've done this, and we've done that, and all of this. And it stops you. And I can't let you know how the movie turns out, but it's one of those things that I haven't seen that movie in years. So I watch that movie. It taps into things with me. It makes me think, what if I didn't have Rainey in my life? Now, would I have ever known the difference? Maybe not. I would now, though. And so I look at that. And hey, lucky winner, it's a great movie. I look at that movie, and it makes me think of how horrible it would be not to have Rainey in my life. How horrible it would be not to have my children. And there were times when Rainey and I had our problems a few years back. And I said, you know, it brings up all those memories. We've got our kids. We've got our life. We've got our things. We've got to look at that. So, you know, these are the... I got off on a sidetrack. Yeah, Rent It. Some of you might think it's a silly movie. Some of you might not like Nicolas Cage. In this, he's married to the actress Tia. She's married to David Duchovny. I think she still is. I can't think of her last name. Tia, whatever her name is. And it's a wonderful film. It makes you think, and it makes you feel. And I like that about it. So, I miss someone, says Corey. So bad right now. Yeah. At least I get to talk to my wife every day. I couldn't imagine doing what I'm doing now, working away from home, way away from home, without the ability to communicate with my wife and kids. Collateral Beauty. I may have seen that. That rings a bell, Steph. I'm trying to think of what movie that is. I may have seen that. Corey says she's the most beautiful girl in the world. Otherworldly. Know that feeling, Corey. Doug says, Corey, I'm sorry I married her. Way to go, Doug. Sorry, Corey, not laughing at you. I'm laughing at Doug's flailing attempt at comedy there. Corey says, at least I know who I miss and what she means to me. Well, you know what, Corey? What stops you? Maybe there are circumstances that stop you. I get that. But if there aren't anything, isn't anything over, what stops you from calling her out? Maybe she's gone in the sense that she's not available anymore. I get that. There's all those kinds of things. So Doug says, click. Not sure what that's about. Single guys will get all the porn and beer. This says Iowa X. That's true. So Steve talks to Jean every day. She keeps going still. There it is. Scott, if you missed it, Tia Leone, yes, played Nicolas Cage's wife in The Family. If you saw it, you would remember especially the ending, says Steph. Steph, who was in the movie you're recommending? That might jog my memory a little bit. Collateral Beauty. I seem to remember that movie, that title. Somehow I feel like I know she's waiting for me. Maybe she is, Corey. You know what? What's my mantra? Remember, Corey, what I've always said? 20 years from now, you'll regret more the things you didn't do than the things you did do. So cast off from the safe harbor. Set your sails to the trade winds. Explore, dream, discover. 20 years from now, you'll regret more the things you didn't do than the things you did do. So do. Will Smith is in that. Collateral Beauty. Why am I not? I can't think of what the movie is. I think I've seen it, but it's not ringing a bell for some reason. On the other side of something, maybe this life, says Corey, maybe on the other side of 20 grand. 20 grand, you think she'll be bought? Last Tango in Paris. I never saw that in all its glory. She's a tricky one to find, says Corey. So there you go. Folks, I got no more for tonight. We've gone for 2 hours. How about that? So I want to thank you all for sticking with me, for being here tonight. There's only a few of us, only a handful of us left here tonight. Conversation may have gotten boring, or people had to go do other things or go to bed. And so for now, I just want you to know that I'm happy you've been here. And I appreciate your having been here. Pardon my pens and stuff in the way. Comes with the territory of using the phone to do a show. So guys, thank you for being here. You all have a good night. I hope this meant something and it was meaningful, not just to talk about porn and boobs and things like that. So, you know what? Live long and prosper. See you on Sunday morning. I should have Rainey with me. So you guys have a good night. We'll see you later. And now I got to do this. Boom.
You're listening to the Intrepid Radio program with Scotty Roberts. Intelligent talk.